Welcome to CCBC TV's Arts Showcase, a series featuring performances from the campuses of the Community College of Baltimore County. I'm Monica Otal, Professor of Music and Concert Manager at CCBC. Today's Arts Showcase welcomes l'Arabesque Baroque, an early music ensemble that performs on historically accurate instruments and specializes in European chamber music of the late 17th and 18th centuries. Their members include Barbara Spicher, Baroque flute, Douglas Wolters, viola da gamba and Baroque cello, William Sims, theorbo and Baroque guitar, Coriolana Simon, viola da gamba, and soprano Pauline Edmonds Baldridge.
Welcome, everybody, and a big thank you to the Community College of Baltimore County for inviting us here this afternoon. Our ensemble is called l'Arabesque Baroque, and we specialize in European chamber music from around the year 1700. Let me first introduce our musicians and tell you a little about the instruments that they're playing. Then I'll set the stage for the music that you're going to hear. Pauline Baldridge is our soprano, and her instrument is a couple of 100 million years old, the human voice. Barbara Spicher plays the Baroque flute. The flute is actually the oldest real instrument, and examples have been found that date back to the Ice Age, to 30,000 years ago. The special feature of the Baroque flute is that, unlike earlier flutes, it has one key. The addition of the key made it possible for the flute to play chromatically. Doug Wolters plays instruments from two different families. First, and this is not it, is the Baroque cello, which is part of the violin family. The other instruments here are the viola da gamba, or viol, same instrument, just different terminology. The viols are cousins to the violin family. There are a lot of differences between the two families, and I believe you all have handouts with some background on the instruments. Is that right? Yes, okay. Doug's going to play the treble viol, and he's also going to play the bass viol, and I play the bass viol too. Billy Sims will be playing Baroque guitar, that's this instrument, and the unlikely-looking theorbo, and you'll see what I mean by the word unlikely when he picks it up. The theorbo is a very different kind of creature. The body is like a lute, fat and round, but it sprouted a very long neck, almost 6 feet in length, so that long bass strings could be added, and that gives the instrument a much bigger, fuller kind of sound. A final note about the instruments. Instruments, as you know, are always evolving. The ones we play were perfect in the year 1700. But as the modern orchestra started to develop, our instruments proved too quiet to compete. The result is that they more or less went dormant until the revival of early music in the 20th century. After the performance, I think there's time for you to come up and have a look at the instruments. I said that I was going to set the stage so you could see the historical context of the music that we play. So let's take the year 1700 as our focal point. What was happening? Well, in Europe, King Louis XIV of France set the fashion. Aristocratic men wore knee-length embroidered coats. They wore silk stockings, high heels like the king, and those large fancy white wigs. Women were even fancier. But the lower classes would soon get restless, and in less than a century, France would explode in revolution. Of course, here in the colonies, we'd get rid of our English masters even sooner. The burst of learning and exploration from the Renaissance are not so far removed from the year 1700. It was only 200 years earlier that Columbus had sailed to America. The 1700s saw the Age of Enlightenment with a steady stream of philosophers, writers, thinkers, mathematicians, and scientists. Sir Isaac Newton, formulated the law of gravity around 1665. A Dutch scientist discovered bacteria shortly after that. And in 1714, a German scientist, Mr. Fahrenheit by name, invented the mercury thermometer. There were also hints of the Industrial Revolution to come with the invention of an early kind of steam engine. The world's first daily newspaper started publishing in London in 1702, and soon after that, an Italian instrument maker invented the piano, and that replaced the harpsichord. So let's move into the world of 1700 and see what it sounded like. We're going to start our continental tour with 3 very short pieces by the English composer James Oswald. Let me point out 2 quick things. First, we have a program change. You all have printed programs? Okay. We are not doing the Galliard and Fandango. That's okay. You can come and hear us in concert another time, and we'll be performing it. And the other thing is that you will notice that we stop to tune quite a lot. The strings of the viols are made of gut, and they're very responsive to temperature and humidity changes, so we do have to retune. Thank you.
for just a while longer as we begin to share some music by Henry Purcell, an English composer of the early Baroque period, and I think his dates are listed in your program. Purcell composed sacred and secular instrumental and vocal works, including incidental music for 49 plays. These works were normally vocal solos and duets shared during the drama. He did write one opera, Dido and Aeneas. Raise your hand if you've heard of it. Excellent. Wonderful. And one historian said that in a few cases when he was writing these incidental pieces for staged productions, for dramas, that they were kind of like semi-operas because he had written so much music for them. He got rather excited. But Sweeter Than Roses is the first piece we will share, and that was written for a production of Pausanias, the betrayer of his country, in 1695, and that was written by Purcell just several months before his death. It is a lengthy seduction song in two parts. In the lyrical, impassioned first section, you will hear how the melody helps to illustrate or paint the text. And I want you to listen particularly for the word trembling as the singer describes a first kiss. In the second section, you'll hear lively and triumphant dance-like triple meter. In our second piece by Purcell, What Can We Poor Females Do?, written just 1 year before Sweeter Than Roses. In this playful song, you'll hear an opening chorus, a refrain that returns throughout the piece. And as it returns, it was customary to add ornamentation or embellishment to the melody. So I've added just a few small things, and I hope you'll listen and see if you can hear those as we advance through that piece of music. So, Purcell.
Sweeter than roses, or cool, cool evening breeze. Sweeter than roses, or cool, cool evening breeze on a warm, flowery shore. Was thy dear, thy dear, thy dear, dear, dear kiss first trembling, first trembling, made me freeze, made me freeze, then shot like fire, then shot like fire, then shot like fire, What magic has victorious love? What magic has victorious love? For all I touch, for all I touch or see, since that dear, dear kiss, I only prove all is love, all is love, all is love, all is love, is love to me. can we poor females do when pressing, teasing, overshoe? What can we poor females do? What can we poor females do? Feet of fights, no other way, but denying or complying, What can we poor females do when pressing, teasing, overshoe? What can we poor females do? What can we poor females do? And resenting or consenting, does alike our hopes betray. What can we poor females do when pressing, teasing, overshoe? What can we poor females do? What can we poor females do?
The next stop on our European tour is to Sweden with the music of Johan Roman. Roman, as a young man, went to London to study music, and there he was influenced by the other great European masters of the time, and especially of the music of Georg Friedrich Handel. He returned to Stockholm, where he worked at the Royal Chapel most of his career and enjoyed royal patronage. And he was the first person in Sweden to present public concerts, so he was known there affectionately as the father of Swedish music. His sonata in B minor is pretty typical of the music written for the flute at the time, with a lot of fast passage work. And please listen for Roman's great compositional technique that he uses in this sonata, where he varies the tempo in each movement at a spot, and it really captures the audience. It makes you listen more. And also, as we said, during the Baroque period, the performers were expected to embellish or ornament the music, especially in the slow movements. The first time through a passage, the performer would play pretty much what was written on the page. And then as the section repeated, the performer would improvise or add notes, pretty much like today's modern jazz music. And you'll hear this especially clearly in the grave movement on the sonata. So this is the sonata in B minor by Johan Roman, and it was published in 1727.
About to hear, Chacun la Prison, is a great example of early 18th century French music composed for the viola da gamba. It was in France in the first half of the 18th century that music for viola da gamba was at its apex. The two most important composers for the viola, whoops, I forgot to pick up the microphone. Give me the microphone. It's under Billy's chair. details. Apologies. Okay. Yes, this is the piece you're about to hear, Chacun la Prison, French music composed at the apex of the viola da gamba music, first half 18th century. The two most important composers for the viola da gamba were Marin Marais and Antoine Forqueray. There are 5 books of glorious music by Marais that have come down to us. You should all go online today and order some CDs of Marais' music, recorded by Jordi Savall, write it down, or Paolo Pandolfo, perhaps the greatest contemporary viol players. There will be a test afterwards. Back to Forqueray. Forqueray was less fortunate. We have only a handful of pieces that were later published by his son. The piece we are to play is in the form of a rondo. Listen to the beginning. It keeps coming back. It's actually more like Marais' style with its tuneful buoyancies. Forqueray's music is usually much heavier, filled with chords.
a few words about Basso continuo, which is one of the defining characteristics of the Baroque period. The continuo group usually consists of some type of sustained instrument or bowed instrument playing the bass line, like a cello or a viola da gamba, and a chordal instrument, often a harpsichord or an organ, and more these days, a guitar or a theorbo. And I also read off the bass line, and it's a figured bass line, so there is numbers above or below the bass note, which tells you what chord to play. It's a lot like reading a chord chart. So if there are any guitarists that are playing in jazz band and you're reading off a chord chart, reading from the real book, it's a very similar type of skill, and that is really a large majority of the pieces in the Baroque period are composed in this shorthand, and again, not unlike popular music of today.
So we'll finish our I got the microphone. We're good. We will finish our continental tour in Italy this afternoon, and we're so glad to have been here. In this set of Italian songs, we are moving backward in time through the Baroque period. Scarlatti, who lived from 1660 to 1725, was composing operas and chamber music at the height of the Baroque period. Maybe you've heard or sung his arias from the favorite book of Italian songs and arias. Maybe you've heard Le Violette or Già il Sole dal Gange. Perhaps you've heard those. So the first piece is by Scarlatti. And then before him composing was Tarquinio Merula, whose dates are 1594 to 1665, and he was very important to the early development of several forms that matured later in the Baroque era, such as the cantata, the aria, and variations on a ground bass. And the final song by Claudio Monteverdi, who was born in 1567, which is really the late Renaissance period, was a pioneer in establishing a new style, transitioning from the Renaissance into early Baroque music with innovations in harmony, form, and structure. So we'll be moving chronologically backward, but I would like to suggest that the texts, which I will share with you just before each piece, so that the songs sort of move us forward in a progression of romantic emotion and sophistication. So in Cara e Dolce, I hear a person newly in love, but scorned by a lover. Something petty has happened between them, and she is not very happy. She is bound by these new emotions of torment, and the speaker is longing for freedom from love's chains. Cara e Dolce.
Cara e dolce, dolce, dolcissima libertà, dolcissima, dolcissima libertà. Quanto ti piange il cuore, quanto piange. Quanto ti piange il cuore, quanto ti piange il cuore. Fra i lacci d'un cridoro prova d'un ciglio acer la crudeltà. Cara dolci, dolci, cara dolci, dolci, dolcissima libertà, dolcissima, dolcissima libertà. Mi duri le tolte che la sorta mi dà per mi stringono qui a mio lungo parlare di gran pietà, a mio lungo parlare di gran pietà. Cara dolci, dolci, dolcissima libertà, dolcissima, dolcissima libertà,
In our next selection, I would suggest that the lover here is wiser and more experienced, and she responds to those who would question the strength of her sincerity and of her devotion, and she says, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa, which means say what you will, say what you may. And I would like to read just the translation of the second verse. There are 3 that you will hear. Others, out of jealousy, may breathe foul flames from their hearts. A vixen may pour forth her venom to destroy my trust in my beloved. Death may snatch my life away, but never will this precious bond that binds me be loosened. Say what you will, say what you may.
Si crede che perduce lusinghi amorosi o per fieri minaccis degnosi dal bel idolo mio ritraga il piede cangi pur suo pensiero che il mio cor prigioniero spera che cura la libertà. Dica, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa, cangi pur suo pensiero che il mio cor prigioniero spera che cura la libertà. Dica, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa, altri per gelosia speri pur empie fiamme dal seno, versi puri mi gira il veleno, perché rompi al mio ben la fede mia. Altri per gelosia speri pur empie fiamme dal seno, versi puri mi gira il veleno, perché rompi al mio ben la fede mia. Morte il viver mi toglia, mai via ver chi si scioglia quel carollaccio che preso m'ha. Dica, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa, morte il viver mi toglia, mai via ver chi si scioglia quel carollaccio che preso m'ha. Dica, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa. In avro tempoi loco das fugae lamorosimi bini, da temprar de l'amatum mio bini, id in arso mio cor la culto foco. E tra l'ombre e gli orrori di notturni splendor il mio ben forto s'acconderà. Dica, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa. E tra l'ombre e gli orrori di notturni splendor il mio ben forto s'acconderà. Dica, dica chi vuole, dica chi sa.
And in our final selection, the very self-assured lover understands the games that we play in love and delights to be wounded by glances and love's arrows so long as her lover will heal her with laughter and revive her with soft lips.
Quel sguardo sdegnosetto, lucente e minaccioso, quel dardo velenoso vola ferimi il petto, bellezza un Dio tutt'ardo e sondami diviso. Piagatemi co sguardo, sonatemi co riso.
I hope you enjoyed this afternoon of Baroque sonatas, suites, and arias performed by l'Arabesque Baroque. If you would like to attend a Music Forum concert, please note that each Friday during the fall and spring semesters, the Music Department of CCBC presents Music Forum concerts at 12:20 in the Recital Hall of the Arts and Humanities Hall on the Essex campus. These concerts are an integral part of our students' education, and all of the concerts are free and open to the public. For more information on Music Forum, please call 443-840-1521. I'm Monica Otal. Thank you for watching CCBC TV's Arts Showcase.